Suzaku the Knight of Seven is a rank 4 Annihilator, or as we like to call him in the Discord server, Angry Suzaku. And apparently it's not just the Discord server, because everywhere else where I see him referenced, he is called Angry Suzaku. So thanks to one specific user for dubbing him this name, and it's kind of stuck ever since, which is really funny. Now, one thing about this Suzaku is that he comes with the Lancelot Fly Naval version. In my tier list, I think I said it has the range weapon unlocked, but in reality, it's actually the melee one. And I think I made that assumption because the first Suzaku that came with this weapon also had the melee weapon unlocked. So I figured they would reverse it here, but they didn't do that. So I was wrong in my tier list if you watched it. Other than that though, that thing was completely accurate and there were no problems in it whatsoever. Anyways, let's get to Suzaku's abilities. So let's go back to him. Okay, so first we have Britannia's White God of Death, a very appropriate name. Upon deployment, and every 20 seconds thereafter, increases the Nightmare Frame skill targets for this unit by 4. It'll be 5 if it's level 5 for 20 seconds and increases this unit's Nightmare Frame skill power by 50%. They're missing a percent sign right there. It's 80 if you have a Lancelot or something like that that boosts his skill to level 5. Then for his other ability, I Cannot Die, it shows the Gias symbol because it's obviously reference to the fact that Lelouch told him not to die as part of his Gias command on, I believe it was not Common Island, but the other one, Shigan Island? Yeah, I think it was Shigan Island. Anyways, the effect reads, when his health falls below 25%, this unit deals damage based on its remaining health to 3 enemy units within range, and it's granted a shield equal to 50% of its max health. It's actually 100% if you use a Lancelot, and I was reading on, I think it was at Media or Wiki, one of those sites, that apparently the damage dealt is more complex than what it's suggesting here. It's not just the remaining health, it's like your max health minus remaining health divided by your remaining health, and then it adds like an extra 10k on top of that or something. I could be wrong on that. There's more going on with how it determines the damage it's dealt to other enemies in range when your health falls below 25%. Now, one thing about Suzaku that should immediately stand out is the insane stats for Annihilator pilot. We're talking attack for short and long range, both over 1,000, health over 6,000, and defense over 400%. And after the first year boost, all these things get improved as well, which is just crazy to me. So after reading those abilities and going over the stats, it should be obvious why this Suzaku is broken, but if not, let's go over some things that you may know or may not know. So let's start with the most obvious thing. Suzaku is part of the Holy Trinity. The Holy Trinity is himself, the strategy Yuffie we got earlier, and the melee weapon of the Gwain. The combination is rather simple. You have Suzaku spend 3,000 of his 6,000 health to activate the Gwain special. You deal 6.5 times, I believe, times your attack power, and then 8k damage on top of that to enemies in range. Then Suzaku's health falls below 25%, and you deal even more damage on top of that. And if you have Yuffie healing him, you can keep repeating this process over and over and over again, and you can kill bosses or the Nightmare Frame boss for the Nightmare Frame boss battle events. So that's one application of Suzaku. Now, the barrier itself is really powerful, and the ability to keep doing this over and over again is insane. Putting aside this deadly combination with the melee weapon of the Gwain, Yuffie, and possibly Valentine Millie, you just have a really broken Annihilator pilot. With balanced attack stats, Suzaku can use any Nightmare Frame, which is great, so he has a lot of usability, and many of the Lancelots have multiple weapons, so it makes sense that his attack stats would reflect that. Because he increases the number of targets by 4 and the damage output by 50%, not damage output, the max power by 50%, Suzaku can make a Nightmare Frame, even the weaker ones, really powerful. And keep in mind, a lot of Nightmare Frames in this game, well, not so much right now, but in the future, will have a lot of attack targets already. I think the Gwain has 8, and the Shinkira, I believe, has 10. The new Gurren that just got announced, I think it targets 12, if not mistaken. So imagine taking those Nightmare Frames and putting it with Suzaku. Now you get an additional 4 on top of the current number of targets, and the power is increased by 50%. Yeah, it's really busted, in case it wasn't obvious. Suzaku is part of the Knights of the Round, the Britannian faction, and also a special corps, so you can use him in all those different faction challenges, which is another fun application of him, and it will come up after the first year anniversary boost when they add all those faction challenges to the challenges, or I should say, when they replace the current challenges with those. Now what's crazy about this Suzaku is that you would think with all the new pilots that recently came out that have similar attack stats or even similar abilities, well, nothing's quite similar similar to Suzaku, but close enough that he would have been power crept already. The truth is, that really hasn't happened in the game because of the Holy Trinity, or just the fact that Suzaku makes every other Nightmare frame really powerful, and as they keep making stronger Lancelots, he only gets better. For example, he's great with the Conquista, or the new one that came out with Suzaku, the Akito one, even though it's just a glorified melee weapon, but still, it's an iron frame that you can use. Oh wait, I'm sorry, that wasn't the latest one. The baseball bat one was the latest Lancelot. The point I make is that even though the game is getting harder and enemies are even stronger, and as long as they are creating better Nightmare frames, this Suzaku isn't going anywhere. Yes, maybe his damage output isn't as strong as it used to be in the Japanese side, but it's still very impressive. And that's the most important takeaway from the Suzaku, is that he's very powerful. And he's one of only a few pilots I can think of where even though he's unlimited, it's really important to get him. He's so essential to completing so many different missions in the game. But to play devil's advocate on this, I don't have him on either of my Japanese accounts, and I've done pretty well. But I won't deny the fact that if I had him, it would have made things easier, specifically with the Nightmare Frame boss battle events, the extra missions, faction challenges, and just playing the game all around. I had to get other attackers to replace him, so there was always a hole on my team that I had to replace with someone else. Thankfully, I've done that over the past few months, but still, I won't deny the fact that having Suzaku would have made things a lot easier. Maybe if I had him, I would have tried those extra expedition challenges. And unlike other powerful characters that get power crept in this game, his skills and abilities are so unique that he's going to be relevant for seemingly forever, as long as you have powerful Nightmare frames for him to exploit using his overpowered abilities. When it comes to cons of this Suzaku, I only have two to come to mind, and they're very nitpicky, but I suppose they're worth mentioning. The first is that he does have really high costs, so that can be a factor. Obviously, you can build a team around him, and there's many ways to reduce the cost. You have Lloyd right now. We're going to get Birthday Suzaku, who also reduces the cost of every Suzaku pilot, and even things after that. So it's not a huge deal, but his cost is kind of high. Another problem is his interval is kind of slow. So just like Anya, he's not the fast attacker in the game. So while he does hit like a truck, he's kind of slow compared to other pilots that are annihilators. These are minor issues, like I said, but it's worth noting they are potential problems. And I should mention that even though he does apply a shield and deal damage to everyone around him when his health does go below 50%, that doesn't mean he can't be killed easily afterwards. Or I should say, not that he can be easily killed afterwards, but that he's safe. So if you don't have healers with Suzaku in cases like that, he could probably still get taken out by bosses. So just keep in mind that while he can deal a lot of damage after he loses most of his health, you should still have some backup units with him to protect him. Like anyone else, honestly. It's not even a thing with Suzaku. That's just a general thing when it comes to characters in this game that have effects when they are below 50% health or something like that. Colin's a little different because she goes into immortality, but even then I would still put healers on her so at least her health goes back to 100%, because once that immortality ability expires, she can be one shot by anybody. And with Zaku, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, once that barrier goes away and you're not healing him, well, he's dead. So just keep that in mind. Suzaku might have ways to prevent himself from dying the first time, but once that expires and you have no backup plan, yeah, he's kind of screwed. So should you pull from this banner? In case it was not obvious, the answer is absolutely. Not only do you get a really powerful Nightmare frame by summoning him, but you get arguably one of the best Annihilator pilots in the game, period. And to this day, still doesn't have too many contenders that you can say are better than him. So it's really worth investing into this character, unlike others in the game. I mean, there's a reason why this character is the only one on this banner, because he's just that damn good. So there you guys go. Welcome to the Lost Zero arc. This is technically the first character we're getting, and we got introduced to Leto and Schnee. Hope you guys are enjoying this part of the story, because this is where we get to go into the extended universe of Kogias, a place that most people don't have much knowledge in. So I'm really excited we're finally at that part in this story. Now, just like any other part in Kogias Lost Stories, there's going to be a lot of banners for this arc, and I recently did a tier list on all of them to help you prioritize which ones you should go for. And you can check out that video right here.